All right, it looks like we're live with Chris, Mr. Chris from Byzantine here. And how's things going with you?
It's going great. It's cold here in West Virginia. I'm I'm over that, but things are going good. Just bought a house yesterday. Uh, doing a
I
bunch
guess some of that metal blade money is finally coming in.
of. No, we haven't. This is my girlfriend's money, pretty much. She,
Well, I kind of want to start a conversation with your new album, The Cicada Tree, came out in 2017. What was the process behind that album? Like, what was the idea behind the name of the album, the concept of the album, the whole work behind it? What was the driving force behind that?
well, I was looking for something that might give us some deep meaning for this album. I felt like our fifth album, which is Two Releases to Resolve, it had a really good deep meaning for me since I had just got divorced and we had lost two band members. So the whole album had a tie-in of losing people and resolving relationships. And I felt like, now that we were on Metal Blade, we really had to continue on with something that, had some substance. And I was getting scared because I had nothing. Um, and then finally, last spring we had what is called the 17-year cicada emerge from West Virginia, and it's a cicada. It's the oldest living insect on Earth. Um, so when they came out of the ground, me and my daughter, who is 9 year old, her name is Mallory, and she's been on a few Byzantine albums herself. um, we were playing with them and learning about them, and I realized that the 17-year cicada had a lot in common with the band Byzantine, which we were turning 17 years, and we had spent most of our time underground. So right there, I had a big epiphany, and I thought that this is a perfect tie-in for this new territory for Byzantine on Metal Blade Records. And my girlfriend playingly come up with the album title, The Cicada Tree. So
So
we're
now,
stuck.
how did it work with Metal Blade? Like, did you have the concept of the album, the idea already of the album, and you approached them with that idea, or did the connection with Metal Blade happen first, and then you worked on putting the album together?
The connection with Metal Blade happened first. They contacted us after we had released two releases to Resolve, and one, it took us a couple months to strike the deal. Um, but once we did that, then they basically just told us, "Give us a new Byzantine album. We don't even need demos. We know what you're going to sound like. It's not like you're a new band. So just give us what you've been giving people on your own." So I worked on the demos for about 3 months, and the music came first, and then we came up with the album concept. I told them about it; they loved it, and they didn't want to change a thing. They said, "Okay, that's you do that," and then after we came up with the concept, then I wrote the title track, "The Cicada Tree," because I felt like the album needed one uplifting moment, and I was happy that that came about.
I'm a big fan of the album. I was introduced to the album through one of our reaction videos,
Yeah,
which is how we actually met each other. It was through that video, and then
yeah,
you did a reaction video of our reaction video, and
yeah.
then we did a reaction video for your reaction video. So it kind of went down like a really weird rabbit hole.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but but I'm a big fan of the album. I really enjoy the album because I find that every track from track to track is different. There's every track gives you something else, gives you a little piece, gives you something to look forward to. It's not linear in that aspect. It's very different from track to track, and I really enjoyed it. But I
Thank
always
you.
wondered what the thought were in terms when you put the tracks together. Do you have that in mind? Do you think you work on the music first and then comes the lyrics, or do you work on the or how does it work, that combination? Because I find songs from like New Ways to Bear Witness, for example, to Val Maxim, like two spectrums
Yeah.
there. You know what I mean? So to me, from an outsider as a fan that I listen to your music, I always wondered how did that work? You put the music together, then the lyrics, then the music. How do you do that?
Well, typically in the Byzantine camp, I always come up with the music first, without lyrics. I want to make sure that the music can stand on its own. So I almost pretty much write the album as an instrumental, and then I start laying concepts separately. We will come up with all the lyrics separately, and then I will piece them together and be like, okay, those lyrics have this feeling, and that song has this feeling, so I'll intertwine them. And then once they all start piecing like a puzzle, then we sit down, and for a good couple weeks, we spend time with the arrangement of the how the album flows together. And me and Jay, our engineer, we will move the songs around multiple times until it all fits like that. But this album, the first arrangement I put together, everybody agreed. They listened to the album in that order and said, nope, that's how it should flow. The one thing I'm scared about, Pedro, is that we always write albums that have multiple feelings, you know, because I typically like to write with multiple emotions. Human beings share multiple emotions, and I think art is a portrayal of that. So I want to write in different emotions, but it's hard for a new fan to come into Byzantine and grasp what we're doing, because a lot of them will think we are just all over the place. But they don't realize that if they go back to our discography, we've tried to do that for the whole tenure, is write multifaceted albums that take multiple listens before you can appreciate it. I think it's fun that way.
Yeah, and I think it's funny you say that, because to me, being a new fan coming in, I actually enjoyed that aspect of things. I actually liked the fact that there was a difference from track to track. I remember the first one I heard was New Ways to Bear Witness, because that was the first video you guys released, I believe, for the album. And thinking, wow, this is going to be kind of like thrash metal, like old school thrash metal. And then I hear Val Maxim, and it's like completely different from that. So to me as a fan, like I actually enjoyed that more than feeling like I was listening to something that it was just like one song after another, like they could only intertwine together and there was really no difference between them. I got more out of it the way this album was laid out this way.
I think the reason why you were able to get it so fast is because you, and not to harp on our age or anything, but you are a more mature and well-rounded music listener, where some people, they come in and they might only have one or two influences, and then when they listen to us, it doesn't fit that mold and they don't really get it. But sometimes our music is not for everyone, and that's probably why we're still a very small band after 17 years.
I mean, another question I have about this album and the video specifically is who made the decision of which song to go with for the music videos, and specifically for the first one, because I mean, this is your first album with Metal Blade, so this was like your first video for the album. It's important because it's also going to be the first single that's going to get some airtime. So whose decision was it? A label decision? Was your decision?
It was a joint decision. We didn't allow. We let the label told us which songs they thought were the singles. And one of our artist reps said that they thought Trap Jaw should be the song that goes to Sirius, that Vile Maxim and New Way should be the music videos. And we agreed. And then they allowed us to pick whichever one we wanted to put out first. And we chose New Ways to Bear Witness since it was the opening track. And then, in a timeline way, then we decided to go straight to Vile Maxim and release that one. And on this album, we also picked Jose Mangan's brain. We allowed him to kind of have some input too, because he has his finger on the pulse of what most music listeners are listening to these days. And he felt the same way. He thought that Trap Jaw was going to be the banger for Sirius, which is funny, Pedro, because that's my least favorite song on the album. Like
I'm going to be honest with you. My favorite track is Val Maxima. I absolutely love that song. Like
great.
the moment I heard that song, I was just like, I mean, like that start of the song when your voice kind of comes from nowhere and the volume picks up. It was
Yeah.
such an old school thing. Like I remember bands like Carcass, COC, even
Yeah.
Sepultura during in the Arise album. They used to do that a lot. Pantera did it in a few tracks as well. And I feel like it adds so much volume to the song because it's like your voice is, it's like somebody's grabbing the knob like at Spinal Tap and going all the way to 11, you know? And I
Yeah. Another thing I
liked
really
it.
like about Vinyl Maxim is it shows the diversity, allowing me to sing the verses and Hendo to sing the choruses. We thought that was kind of unique. You don't get to see that a lot where the chorus comes up. You would think the main guy in the band would sing it, and then I step aside and Hendo sings the chorus. And we thought that was pretty badass. And that chorus gives a kind of like a Megadeth feel to it that we thought was really neat. Where the riff at the beginning, where we start doing the really chugging riff, I thought it had a really old school Meshuggah feel. So there was some some differences in influences in that song that I thought tied that song together really well, and just had a old school feeling to it.
Yeah, I really loved it. And now this leads me into the next thing, which was your tour with Sacred Reich in the fall of last year. I got to see you guys in Toronto. Barely, barely
Yeah.
got to see you guys in Toronto.
Yeah.
But
Toronto kicked our ass, man.
but I'll tell you one thing. It was a great show. I remember you saying a line during the show that it wasn't a mosh pit. Was the what was it? It was not the standing pit. Was
Oh, instead of the mosh pit, the Byzantine has the watch pit.
the
So
watch pit? Yes, I
yeah.
love that line. You know, but the thing that I went into that show obviously knowing your new album, not knowing much of your old stuff, and I really wanted to see what the live performance was going to be like. So I was really happy that you guys actually made it, considering all the issues you guys had with your band.
Yeah. It was a
So I
very
was happy to see you.
stressful. It was a
Sorry.
very stressful performance. We wanted to play really well because it was the first time we had played in Canada in over a decade, and then we get there and we're so stressed out because we just lost our van. But we were like, for at least for 35 minutes, we can put that aside and give the fans in Canada a decent show. So I'm glad it came across pretty well.
No, I personally, I really enjoyed the performance. And one of the things that I took from that performance was that when the show started, I would say a very small amount of people knew who you guys were. But
Sure.
by the end of the show, everybody was kind of flocking to your merch stand and buying your albums, your vinyls, your T-shirts, your hoodies. To me, that's got to feel good from your perspective that you're coming into a venue after all the stress, coming into a venue knowing that you don't really have the crowd because the crowd is really there to see Sacred Reich.
Sure.
And then at the end of the show, you have that support from the crowd to go to your merch stand and buy your stuff. That's got to feel good for you at the end of the day.
It does. Even this late in my tenure in Byzantine, I still take a lot of. I still feel really good when we show up to a show, and we start the show, and there's nobody standing near the stage. Like a lot of the guys my age will be getting pissed off about that and going home. But I love it because I know by the end of our set, they're all going to move up 20 more feet, and they're all going to have fun. And by the end, we're going to be making friends at the merch table. It's fun. It's fun at my age to know that we still can go out and like turn over crowds, young
No,
and old.
I witnessed it firsthand, and I know it wasn't an easy situation because, like you said, the issues with your car getting into Toronto, it wasn't easy. And then the tour, I don't think some things got easier, but then I heard you got laryngitis later on down the road. So if you have to look back now at this tour, you guys had a tour. This is basically a North American tour. You guys came to Canada, you played in the US, both East and West Coast. If you're looking back now, from the safety of your home, not having to worry about car breakdowns.
Right.
How would you rate the tour? Like, was it a success for you guys? Was it positive?
I would say it was an 8 out of 10 for us, and that's with us, me getting laryngitis and not being able to sing the last show or two, us losing our tour van, us making no money because of said losses. That I still come away with very positive feedback from that tour, simply because we didn't quit. We could have easily went home. Sacred Reich even told us that when we showed up back in New York City and met them on that tour.
Because you guys missed 2 shows, right? You missed two shows.
We missed
Montreal and Boston.
Yeah, in Boston. And that sucked too, because both of those were weekend shows and they were both almost sold out. We missed a lot of opportunities there. But when we met Sacred Reich back in New York City, they said, "We thought you guys were going to quit. We really thought you were going home," and they were really impressed that we finished it out. They actually changed our name after that to Badasentine. So if that was the only thing that come out of that tour, that was fine. But we all came home and we realized that sometimes touring is hard, and but we played well. We didn't lose our motivation, and now we're ready to go back out round 2 when spring comes around and continue touring behind the album. So we were pleasantly surprised about how that tour went, despite the setbacks.
Well, after all of that nightmare, all those nightmares combined with the positive stuff, the year, I would say, for you guys ended on an extremely positive note. I mean, you guys made top 12 of Liquid Metal's Devil Dozen with Trapjaw, I believe. And you guys had the top cover song of the year on the Corridor of Covers.
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
That's impressive. I mean, you're talking about a lot of good covers this year. I know Dragon Force had one of my favorite ones, which they cover a song from Death. And that one, I think, made it to the top 10. But you guys were the top ones. You're the top dogs.
Yeah,
I still feel good.
We were the number one chosen by Sirius, I guess the fans as well, and it blew me away, because we weren't even sure we were going to record that cover, and then once we did, we didn't even know if fans would A, accept it, or B, even pay attention to it, because the song we covered is from the 70s. And a lot of the other bands were covering songs from the 80s or covering heavy metal songs.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of bands on that list that did covers that were much bigger than us, like Hailstorm, Stone Sour. I mean, huge bands. But somehow little old Byzantine covering a Cars song, took it. And I'm really excited about that. And the other
I just gotta go turn on the light, because it's kind of getting dark in here. Hold on a second.
Sure.
All right. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and not only did the song take off with younger people and just old Byzantine fans in general, it actually got us new fans that didn't even know about Byzantine much. Like, a month ago, I got an email from Dino Cesares from Fear Factory, and I'd never spoken to him. I didn't even know they knew who Byzantine was, and he texted me and he said, "Hey man, Moving in Stereo is the shit. I'm a Byzantine fan now. We need to tour." And I'm like, yes. So
and I know Annihilator from Canada, the great Canadian thrash metal band, also give you guys a shout out in on their Facebook page.
Yeah, I mean we got contacted by Jeff Waters and Dino, all from releasing this album, who's became new fans, and both guys have expressed taking us out this year on tours. So I mean, just super positive things have came from it. So
no,
I just got. Let me show you this if you don't mind.
Sure,
Um,
go ahead.
Another guy who became a fan of our band just from this album. I got a package from today. His name is Glenn Alvarez, and he used to play in Testament and Forbidden. And he just sent me a bunch of CDs and shirts of his new band because apparently he is now a massive Byzantine fan from the new album. So, I mean, despite all the setbacks and the no money that we really make doing this, I mean we've made a lot of strides. So I'm really,
I
really
think
excited.
from looking at all of this, I think, and before I talk about 2018, I want to talk about something else. But I just want to say, I don't think you guys going to have a problem finding partners for tours in this new year of 2018. It looks like it.
Yeah, it looks like it'll be a little easier than it always has been. It's always been hard, and that's why most people have never seen Byzantine live because we just don't get a lot of opportunities to tour. And now where we're older and domesticated and we got kids, now we have to take that in the equation, and it's even harder. But I think if some of the bigger bands will give us some chance, like Sacred Reich did, and like Lamb of God did back in the day, I think we'll be able to make Metal Blade happy that they signed us.
Now, before we talk about 2018, because I have a couple of questions to ask you about what this year is gonna have in store for not only for the band but for the fans. I want to talk to you about the metal scene in West Virginia
Sure.
and the bakery and all of that stuff. I've been seeing a lot of posts on Facebook, on the Byzantine group, or even on your own wall about all the work that you've been putting in creating this venue for
Yeah.
the artists in your area. So I really want you to share your thoughts about that because I don't think we see enough of that from artists. I think there's always a sense of things are not going well, but nobody really gets up and does something to change the environment around them in order to make things better, not only for themselves,
Yeah.
but also for the up and coming bands. Like, how difficult it is to get off the ground. So maybe creating that venue will help other bands in a way that you didn't have that help when your band was coming up. So what was the thought process going behind creating such a venue?
Well, first I have to apologize to everybody who doesn't live around here because I am flooding the internet with bakery things, and it might not pertain to them. So I want to apologize first, but that's kind of my job and my role in the bakery is that I'm kind of the face of the venue, and a lot of the other guys are the nuts and bolts that are making it work. Um, but we rehearse in this old building here in Charleston, West Virginia, and the owner was having some financial difficulties keeping it, and I took a shine to the owner, which taking a shine is a West Virginia term for I like the owner a lot. We became friends. So I took a shine to him, and I heard that he was having some issues. So we decided to rent out a big section through donations and turn it into a music venue, which in turn helps Southern West Virginia, the music and the arts community. And we've kind of been suffering around here for a long time because the music and the arts doesn't get funded like it does in a lot of other places. Like in Canada and Sweden, the country really embraces artists and musicians, and here not so much. So I think, if I have like 10 minutes of my day, I won't sit down. I'll have to do something. It's just how I am. So now that I'm home and not touring, I was like, I gotta find something to do. So in my free time, when I'm not spending it with my kids or renovating bathrooms or playing and rehearsing with Byzantine, I was like, hey, let's start a music venue. And my girlfriend about shot me. So she's like, "Oh yeah, that just sounds really easy." So I've got a group of dedicated musicians around here that have all jumped in and helped, and we've formed a small little collective of musicians that are going down and donating all our free time. So anytime we've got free, we go down and we sweep or we hang drywall. I've been laying flooring, and what we're trying to do is bring a national presence back in Southern West Virginia to where bands can start calling this place a tour stop. And if I can do that for one kid around here, one kid can see Soulfly or Lamb of God in their backyard, and it sparks something like it did with me, then it was worth all the time I've spent on it.
I believe Soulfly is playing there, aren't they?
Yeah. See, we've already got Soulfly now coming in a couple months, and we're trying to get some other big artists, but it's really hard because we have no. We're a brand new venue, and it just takes a lot of time and a lot of money. But I don't have a lot of money, but I do have time. So I thought me and the other guys that are working on it, if we can take month after month after month and a little bit here and a little bit there and get it to the point where some of these bands will come in and play here and be like, you know what? Those West Virginians were good people, and they have a kick-ass club, and we're going to come back here again. That's how we build a scene.
No, I think what you guys are doing is unbelievable. I saw some pictures that you posted of you setting up some 2x4s or framing, doing some frame. I think it's incredible. It's such a breath of fresh air to see people just not, it's so easy to complain when things are not going your way,
right,
or when you don't have something in your area. And instead of doing that, you're like, you know what, let's do something. So to me, I really applaud that, because there's not enough people having that type of mentality and then doing that kind of stuff. Because I think, from my perspective, the way I look at it is music can really be a tool that it can be used to mold the minds of the youth and to get them out of difficult situations and problematic situations. That's one of the reasons why I started the channel with my son, was really to have something to bond with him, but not only bond with him, but also be able to connect with him and try to move him away from difficult situations in his regular day life. So I think finding a venue like that in your area that can do that for kids and even motivate them to pick up an instrument, the guitar, drums, whatever, I think it's great.
Well, thank you. What you do with your son, I know that, you might not notice it, but like us people who watch you, what we're watching is a relationship being built between a father and son, and it's beautiful. And a lot of dads won't take the time to do that. And I commend you for doing that with your son. I didn't meet your son, did I?
No, he couldn't come because it's a big beef of mine with this 19 and over thing, because I thought
that's why we're building the damn all age. That's why our music venue is going to be all ages. If you're in a stroller, you can come watch Soulfly. Now I know there's some legalities, and it makes it hard for us to run a venue with insurance, and like if we want to sell alcohol, we've got some hurdles, but we don't have an all ages venue around here, and therefore there's no places for the kids to come see Byzantine or to get on the stage and play themselves. So us old guys who've been sitting around drinking beer for the last couple of years talking about it, like, hey, we need a music venue. A couple of us are like, you know what? Let's go grab a hammer and let's go build one.
It's funny that you say that, because I was talking to a local band here from Toronto yesterday. We actually did an interview with them yesterday. We're going to be posting it later on next week. And the guitar player on the band is 17 years old. Mm-hmm. So they've been stopped from performing at certain venues because of the age limit, which to me was insane. Like, the band cannot even play at the venue because the guitar player is right. A minor, and in some venues they let him in, but they only let him in when they were ready to go on stage. So he had to sit in the car outside, wait for the set to be starting, and then they can let him on stage. And to me, the way I look at it is you're kind of killing the chicken that laid the golden egg, because if you don't have venues that allow the young people, like allow me, for example, to bring my son in to see you guys, or
right.
Reich, or Children of Bodom, whoever. If there's no venues that allow us to do that, how is he going to grow to love music and grow to listen to the music? At the end of the day, the way I look at it is listening to the music at home is fine. Nothing beats watching a band that you love live. That experience you cannot copy that experience. You can't do it. No. So if you don't let the kids go to those venues, I remember seeing Slayer when I was 14. That was my first show, Slayer with Machine Head. if I hadn't seen Slayer with Machine Head at that age, I don't think my love for metal would have grown the way it did.
Right.
Because it opened my eyes to a whole different world, to a whole different group of people, music, and then from that point on, I was hooked on going to shows. So,
Sure.
and the funny part about Toronto, about some of these venues, is that you have a venue that is one concert is all ages, and then 2 weeks later there's a different concert and it's only 19 and over.
Right.
So to me, it almost feels it comes down to the promoter and how much money they want to spend on licenses for the liquor and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, I think they're not looking long term and looking at the vitality of the metal scene in your own city, right? Because I think you have to look at the youth as a way to progress towards the future.
Yeah, I mean, we're like here in Charleston, we've got enough venues that cater to 21 and over. I mean, there's enough of those. There's not anywhere for the kids to go. And just like you said, I can relate. The first time I saw a concert was Anthrax when I was 17. If they would have forbid me to come to that show because I was too young, then that would have probably stymied my development as a musician, because right after I saw that show, I went home and I knew what I wanted to do, and I started practicing my ass off. I probably wouldn't be here talking to you if I wouldn't have went to that one show. So, yeah, it's a lot of adults making decisions for children by eliminating things as opposed to introducing them to things.
Yeah,
so, and we're trying to make a difference here. Like, this is not a hotbed for metal, and it never was. But there was a time when a lot of kids could at least have that choice. So we're going to give them that choice, and hopefully it works out. We'll see.
I'm sure, like, you have the passion and the love, and for it, and I think that is going to take you a long way. And I really applaud what you have done for your local metal scene there.
Thank you.
And now that we're in 2018, so for us to finish off this interview, what are the plans for Byzantine for 2018? Touring, festivals? What's the plan? Going to Europe maybe for a festival in Europe, big festival in Europe? What are the plans? What do you have in mind?
Unfortunately, the festival circuit that comes in the summer, it's already booked. Like, all the festivals are already booked, so we missed out on every one of them. That's I don't have the pool to get us on festivals. I was hoping that maybe our label or a booking agent was going to get us on some festivals. It didn't work. So what we're looking to do is right now we're getting ready to shoot some guitar playthroughs to have some content, and then we're going to shoot a new full-length music video for the album. So we want to put out some more stuff for spring. Spring, we want to do another full U.S. tour, and then possibly in the fall, we've got an offer to go and do a full European tour. So it'll be so we're looking at least 2 full tours this year on the Cicada Tree, and then I'll start working on album 7.
So the next album, you're not going to start working on it basically until 2019.
Yeah, luckily Metal Blade didn't put a really hard timeline on us because they know our domesticated situation. So they're going to allow us to take this rest of this year and just focus on the Cicada Tree. And then, yeah, I'll probably start working later this year on the new album. And it normally takes me about 3 months to write a Byzantine album in its entirety. So if I can start working on that this winter, we'll look at a new album coming out in 2019.
Well, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm hoping I'm going to be honest with you. I'm really hoping that you guys come back again to Toronto. I hope the incident with the van is not going to be sour enough to keep you guys from coming back to Canada.
No, we love Canada. Canada is absolutely one of my favorite places on earth. The people are great there. The beer's great, and we're definitely not going to let losing one vehicle is not going to stop us. So,
no, I really hope to see you guys back here again because, like I said, I really enjoyed your live performance. You guys on stage were animals on stage. It was absolutely a fun concert to be at. I really enjoyed it, and I really would like to see you guys again. So that's for sure.
Yeah, man. We'll make sure we come back to Toronto again. As long as you can bring your son. Otherwise,
Hey, you guys have to book it in all ages.
you're right. You're right. Maybe we'll work on that and get a smaller place that'll allow more kids in, and then we'll take it from there. So
Yeah, because at the end of the day, he looks 19,
yeah,
but he's only 13.
right. Can he grow a beard?
We can draw it with a Sharpie, maybe.
There we go. There we go.
All right, OJ, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Take care.
Good
See
seeing
ya.
you, man.